And welcome back to Disciples of the Force. It's your boy Spinny and my cute, handsome co-host as always, Austin. How you doing, Austin?
Doing well. How are you, Spenny?
Oh man, I'm doing great. We've had a big week for Star Wars this week, The Mandalorian, The Bad Batch, and we can't wait to get into it. But first, a little Star Wars news. I did see that the director or gaming director, not a real director, it's for games, not really the same thing,
You're right.
of Jedi Survivor, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
is looking, and he's pulling to get a third game made.
Yep.
So that's
I
pretty
did
big.
see that. Yeah, that is huge. Wants to be a trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be exciting. I still wonder if they're ever going to tie in the games with I know they have in some aspects, but tied into live action stuff.
Yeah.
I would like to see that. That'd be cool.
I would love to. Oh, also, other Star Wars news. I totally forgot. Captain Rex.
Dude, you got it. It's still like in my cart. I was going to order it and then I got cold feet.
No, I was like, I saw that one and I was like, I really want Captain Rex. That's actually sick.
Yeah,
it's got
so
like his
sweet.
little scratches on the side of all the like tiny marks. It's sweet. I'm excited.
Oh my gosh.
If you can't see, if you're listening, it's Lego Star Wars Captain Rex. You may have heard of him. Helmet, kind of cool, kind of a big deal. All right, well, do you have any other news, or do you want to jump on in?
That's it for me. Let's jump on in. So,
All right.
two
Start it off.
new Star Wars shows. Pretty exciting. Mandalorian
Huge, yeah.
Season 3 debuted this week on Wednesday. So we're going to talk about that. But first, let's take care of Bad Batch. Just because if you've been listening, you know that we've been covering Bad Batch. We want to talk about that because we'll get through it a little bit faster, shorter episode, and then we'll go into Mando and spend a lot more time on that. So anything cool you want to say about the Bad Batch, Spenny?
Yeah, I'm excited. We've talked about this for a couple of weeks, but I'm excited they're finally getting into the cloning aspect of it all. Of it started in the beginning, they never really touched on it again, which I thought was really, really awesome. Awesome. I also don't know why they're even attempting to work with Sid, but then, they say in the episode that if they don't, they're going to be screwed because she's got so much info on her. So that's something I never thought of. That'll be interesting. And let's see. Oh, and I did like how towards the end of the episode, Omega is now going to be on the Empire's radar, which is going to make it a lot more intense. They're now going to be really running from him. But yeah, what did you like? What did you got for me, baby?
Dude, a lot of the same things. As soon as they showed that mountain cloning facility, Mount Tantus, I think it's called, I was like,
Sure.
Oh my gosh, finally this show is like coming back to what it started. So that'll be really cool to explore. Just going through my notes here. Clone Commandos were heavy in this episode, which we haven't seen a ton of them. We saw some in the Clone Wars and then a few last season. We know Gregor, who they rescued last season, was a clone commando in the Clone Wars. But yeah, we haven't seen a ton of them. So that was kind of cool to see all those. I wonder why they're guarding the facility, though. I feel like they'd have better things to do than be guards, but it's whatever. Kind of crazy. I was wondering in my notes here if the cloning assistant, the chick, was a clone, because she has a New Zealand accent too. I was like, maybe she's an old version of Omega.
Yeah.
But then I was like, there's no way. Like, I don't know.
That'd be cool.
I feel like there's no way. It would be way cool.
Well, I did want to ask you something about everything. Because they, we were watching good old Screen Crush, right?
As we do.
And he mentioned that clones can't be force sensitive. That's why, and the sidestep why Rey, her dad, is really just a clone of Palpatine, and that's why she can be force sensitive because he wasn't. Yada yada, all that. So, with that being said, is it even going to be possible that Omega can be force sensitive if she is a clone? If that's kind of the status quo.
Yeah, that's a great question. I really don't know. The whole series has been alluding to her being force sensitive. So I'd imagine there's some kind of canon way around it. And I'd imagine that's why she's so important to Nala Se, is that maybe the the cloning facility on Camino was doing something we don't know about, and they were able to achieve that. And I think that's probably why she's going to be so important. Because, like, narratively right now, they're not having a problem getting clones, right? But the problem is turning them into Force-sensitive clones. So they either need blood with midichlorians in it, like, or with a high midichlorian count, like Grogu's in the future, or they need some other kind of special cloning knowledge. And we know that the Kaminoans were the best cloners in the galaxy. So it's possible that they were just hiding some things from the Republic and then the Empire, where they knew how to make a Force-sensitive clone, and Omega is that result. And that's why she's going to be of interest going forward. And that's why she's so important to Nala Se. And that's why Nala Se will, like, change everything to work for the Empire as long as she has her hands on Omega. So, yeah, I think canonically clones can't be Force-sensitive in their current state, but I think Omega can.
Okay.
For reasons that are unexplained.
I respect that.
Okay.
Do you think Nala Se, do you think her, like, you kind of mentioned her connection with her, maybe that she is Force sensitive. Do you think it's also that she's got like a motherly love, or do you think it's more of a deeper thing? Do you think it's like that's not superficial, but that, like, transparent, that's all it is? Or do you think it might be deeper for a reason why she wants to have Omega?
Yeah, I think it could be, because we saw how closely they worked together before Omega left and joined the Bad Batch. So, yeah, that could be something. That's a great point.
It's just weird to me that Omega never talks about Nala Se. Like I feel like if it was like a motherly figure, you would bring her up a little bit more than she has. So I don't know. But that's why it just makes me wonder if her relationship with her was that great, because she was so easy to leave and she loves, her brothers and everything. So I don't know. It will be interesting to see, because I'm sure they're going to shed light on that as it goes.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the thing too. This whole season has kind of seemed like they need to find a mother figure for Omega, because now Sid isn't that figure, and Fee Genoa, Wanda Sykes' character, she was becoming that, but she hasn't been in the episodes recently. But we've talked about that on the podcast before, that they both kind of served as pseudo mothers for Omega. So yeah, that could be the head that they're going to. That Nala Se is going to step in and be that matriarch. We'll see.
Yeah. It'll be good. I'm excited to see it. With that, anything else you got, or you want to jump into the meat?
Dude, on the Bad Batch, I got so much more. You kidding
let's
me?
hear it. Yeah, sorry, man.
No, dude, it's all good. No, but it will be interesting to see how Sid and their falling out leads to. I mean, I'm sure the whole, like, this last half of the season will be way more exciting, because now Omega, like you said, is of interest. And now Sid could give them up to the Empire, so it'll be crazy going forward.
Yeah, I honestly think that is what it's going to be. She's just going to rat them out, because, I mean, she's all for the money. She doesn't care about them. She screws them over all the time. So it's like, it's not going to be that, crazy if that's what ends up happening. So your dog, what we got?
Well, one of them.
Your wife brought you some swig?
Yeah, thank you.
Crazy.
She did, yeah. Let's plug Swig for a second. Hey, Swig is our new sponsor. They're not. That'd be nice. Sorry, what were you saying?
I forget. I think I was just saying that. Oh yeah, Sid. She's definitely. I mean, like, I could easily see her selling them out, because no connection to them.
Right. Another cool thing from the episode: the Zillo Beast.
Oh yeah, the Zillo. I totally forgot
freaking
about the
awesome.
beast.
I seriously didn't like. When we've seen the Zillo Beast before in the Clone Wars, we've never seen it in that, like, adolescent form.
Yeah.
So I was like, from the head, I was like, oh my gosh, is that a Zillo Beast? And then as it kept, like, running around, in the dark and stuff, I was like, no way it is. But then I was pleasantly surprised that it was.
You were surprised.
Pretty cool.
Well, yeah, I do like how that's, like, kind of come back full circle. I mean, from where Palps was, hey, clone that thing that we just killed. I want to look more into that. I mean, years later, it's still,
Right.
helping him out. So
Yeah, because that always bothered me. It was such kind of like a one-off episode, or not, kind of throwaway arc that they were like, yeah, let's clone the Zillo Beast. And then we never see its armor show up in the original trilogy, because that's originally why he wanted it, he said, was to get its armor properties that were resistant to the lightsabers and stuff. So, but we never saw that show up. So I was always kind of bothered by that. So it'll be nice to see how that plays into everything. So, next episode is going to have Rex and Echo, probably.
Oh, yeah.
That little name drop there at the end. So that'll be more exciting, too. All the gang back together. And then a new villain to replace Admiral Rampart, that doctor guy with the gloved hand. It kept focusing on his glove. And I had to look it up. I was like, are we supposed to know who this guy is? Like, is that supposed to give something away? Doesn't seem like it. His name is Dr. Royce Hemlock. So I have no idea who that is or why they were like focusing on his hand so much, but I guess that will be revealed.
My bet I bet you it'll be a flashback with him and Nala Se, because he did, when he goes up to her, he's like, it's been a while since I've seen you. So I mean, that's gonna play into it. So I wonder, maybe he got his hand cut off like good old Luke and Anakin.
They tend to do that. Yeah, that's a good point. It probably is something to do with that.
Yeah. So, but I'll be interested.
But yeah. With that being said, that's my last thing on the Bad Batch. So I really didn't have that much more. It was just hyperbole. So
I was looking. The last thing I had was just I liked the name of it was Metamorphosis. And I was really thinking it was going to be Omega. Blooming into something. Right. Wasn't. Whatever, it's fine.
The Zillo Beast.
Yeah, the Zillo Beast is going to go up. Shut up, Star Wars.
It has multiple meanings, because the Zillo Beast went through a metamorphosis, but also this season is kind of turning into something else.
Yeah.
Previously it was kind of like the adventure and still doing jobs for Sid and stuff and growing as a family, but now it's changing into the bigger picture. So I think that's another reason for the name.
Hey, you know what? That's a really good point. I didn't even think of that.
Thanks, dude. Thank you.
Welcome.
Well, do we want to go into Mandalorian, Bubba?
Yeah, let me you've been waiting 4 months. It is here. The Mandalorian season 3, episode 1. Start us off, Oz. What do you got?
Let me first say, if anybody's listening to this in their car, they probably just got in a crash from those noises you were doing. Almost blew my eardrums out. Great intro, though. We've been waiting for forever. First note I have here is Space Crocodile. That freaking thing at the beginning. So cool. Yeah.
I like the guts that it showed when it got blown up.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that. I was talking to this guy I work with, and he was watching it with his son, and he was like, yeah, I was really surprised. Like, I loved it, but Star Wars has never done something like that. Luckily, my kid didn't say anything, but I thought it was funny.
That is funny. But yeah, that was a cool monster design. It was like kind of a T-Rex face looking thing. But anyway, I also wondered where they filmed that. I wanted to look that up because it could have been like Lake Powell or Lake Mead. Looks like one of those cool environments.
No, dude, it's not.
It's not either one of them. You're right. At first I thought it was a flashback because and I think maybe that was intentional because that kid actor they had looks like the same kid actor that has played Din in the past when he got rescued during the Clone Wars. So thought that was a flashback, but it wasn't.
But it was not.
Are you looking that up? Where it was filmed?
I'm looking up the Mandalorian one. They filmed it. Oh no, that's just this is just the filming Manhattan Beach Studios. Thing? Yeah, I don't know where they filmed that part. I'm sure it'll take a while before they show.
Yeah, they'll have it up in a few weeks.
But no, the same thing. I was like, especially because the part where it's like, and you'll never take your helmet off, and then it came up. I was like, you never said it.
Right. Never said it.
But it wasn't him.
Right.
Anyways, keep going.
Another cool thing was there was like this cool helmet mounted camera angle on one of the Mandalorians. I don't know if you noticed that. But when I saw it, I was thinking like that's something we would never see in the 70s because nowadays we get used to camera angles like that from like people in wingsuits, like Red Bull videos, wingsuit guys or whatever. And that just wasn't a thing back then. No GoPros existed. So like if you would have done a camera angle like that on like Boba Fett back in the 80s, people would have been like, what the hell is this? You know?
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool.
That was great.
Yeah. Oh, the episode was named after you. Did you notice that?
Apostate? That's crazy.
The Apostate. Yeah.
That's insane, dude.
It's named after you.
You're a funny guy.
Thanks, dude. Dude, I've got so many more notes. Do you have anything?
Yeah.
Before I keep going, I feel like I'm just talking over you, dude.
Well, no, it's good, man. I think we can just go 2 and then 2, just go back and forth, you know?
Sure, man, whatever.
I was going to say, I've never noticed how, like, I mean, clearly the Mandalorians are very culty, you know, with what they do. The certain sects are very culty. And, like, that first part, I was like, man, this is, like, mega cult. It was cool, though. And also, you know, like, little religious aspect to it. I was going to say, the special effects were a lot better than the trailer. I was like, oh, wow, this is... So I wonder if they went back and touched things up. I don't know. Or maybe they wanted the trailer to look a little bad the first time, because we mentioned before on the podcast that the second trailer they put out looked a lot better, and now this, you know, it looks great. So I did think that was pretty sweet. And then the other thing I had just right there was just, yeah, I like the touch of the guts of the alligator beast. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, very cool. And yeah, I agree with you. I think it looked a lot better. The one complaint I have about the Mandalorian, and it's only in certain scenes, like when they were on Navarro, is I feel like there's too much light for whatever reason. Like you compare it to Andor, and everything was color graded really well, where it was like really aesthetically pleasing and really nice to look at. Or maybe I just like that type of stuff. I don't know if it's a preference thing or what, but the Mandalorian and especially the Book of Boba Fett have like kind of a sanitized feel for whatever reason. And I don't know what that is. I think the Navarro sequences were probably filmed outside of the volume. Maybe they weren't. I don't know. But I think that's kind of what the volume does, is kind of makes it look, like I said, kind of sanitized and brighter, which I'm not a huge fan of. But that being said, I think it all looked great, other than the scenes on Navarro.
I didn't notice it. I don't even... Why I'm drawing a blank of what... Is Navarro the city? I'm not even...
Yeah, that's... What's his name? Grief Karga.
Oh, okay.
Carl Weathers' character is the High Magistrate of...
Okay, you thought it was too bright. I find this to be interesting. No, I see what you're saying. I'll have to look out for it as we keep going. Nothing stood out to me as I saw it, but I'll look out for it.
That's a nitpicky thing, you know?
Yeah.
So if you haven't noticed it and it hasn't turned you off, no problem.
Yeah.
And I don't think it would most people.
Well, I'm going to make it turn me off.
Okay. Well, so be it. What else? Oh, the space whales, the hyperspace whales.
The Purgles.
Very cool.
Purgles?
Yeah, whatever it is. But you and I were talking about this earlier. Those were a pretty big part of Star Wars Rebels, you know, near the end there.
Yeah.
And I just love that Dave Filoni puts these little Easter eggs in for people who have watched everything that we can relate to, you know. At the same time, he doesn't like exclude people that haven't seen those things. Like, it's just such a tiny little reference of a space whale out in the distance. Really cool.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, and I also think that, I don't know if it'll come to play in The Mandalorian, but I think maybe it's just, you know, a little sneak peek into the Ahsoka series. I think they're just kind of foreshadowing, just like, you know, for the viewers, like, hey, we know about Rebels. We know how it all ended. Spoiler if you haven't seen it.
Right.
But, you know, so I think that might be, you know, their way of kind of foreshadowing that it's going to be brought back up, you know. But like I said, I don't see it happening in The Mandalorian, because unless Ahsoka comes back up, which she might, but, you know, I can't see how that story would fit. But it could. I mean, he's always going around to other parts of the universe, so you never know.
Right. But yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think that'll be a key part of how they find Ezra.
Yeah, little Ezra boy.
What else? Oh, the the Kowakian monkey lizards. I thought that was a cool little inclusion. The salacious crumb monkeys. Also, you and I talked about this, but Grogu using the Force to spin that chair was so funny. And it also illustrates that like he's not following the Jedi path, because like you wouldn't be using the Force just for something so casual. I mean, maybe you will. Maybe I'm getting my canon mixed up, but it's just kind of funny that he's using it so willy nilly.
Yeah, I love it.
He's a baby.
I do. I also love this scene when he's with the Azili. What do they call the
Anselians?
Anselians. Yeah. He's hugging the freaking dude, and he's like, "Get off of me!" He's like, "No squeeze." Squeezed him, so cute and funny, dude. Loved it.
It's so funny, dude, because they're just these lifeless puppets,
Yeah.
Like I know that while I'm watching it, but I'm like, dang, all these things are so freaking cute.
And I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, man, George would be proud. The marketing with little baby Grogu. Man, I've been thinking about that. All the stuff it's on. I'm like, dude, they ripped another page out of it. Oh, snap! You got one.
That's my controller holder.
That's so cute. Yeah, go ahead.
But yeah, you're right. He would be proud. Another thing, dude, I gotta check this. I think it's Grief Karga. If I'm right, I'm not gonna feel bad.
Well, it's actually
okay.
What's his official title that he kept saying throughout the episode?
High Magistrate.
Yeah. High Magistrate.
High Magistrate Grief Karga. Yeah. I thought it was cool how he mentioned Cara Dune joined the new Republic Special Forces, which is funny because we know Cara Dune's actor. What the heck's her name?
Yeah,
she got canceled a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
and the Rangers of the New Republic show got canceled because of her.
Yeah,
which sucks. But yeah, so she got canceled, and they just kind of explained her away like that. So we'll never be seeing any type of her character again.
Yeah, which I really did. Yeah, I had that written down too. I liked how they did close it. Because us as nerds for Star Wars, like we're always like. So like we were kids and we grew up and we're like, what happened to her? Was she just gone? And they wrote it in, they didn't have to. So I thought that was cool. But I also think, because I've heard people say, well, why don't they just recast her? But I like that like Star Wars likes to keep continuity. Like that's a huge thing. So it's like recasting her, you could, but it might I think they might in the series just write in a character who's similar, but not necessarily a full I don't know. Like sometimes when I hear recast, I think they take the same exact character with a new actor, right? It's typically how I look at it. Mm-hmm. So I think they'll probably go more of the way of just bringing in someone different, but a lot of similarities, so they can have that kind of character to bounce off of, which I think would be cool. Because I think you need a couple more.
It's so much better that way because you think of like some of the popular recastings that I think about, and they're always done kind of in a clunky way. Mm-hmm. So that they're kind of distracting, especially on rewatch. So I'm thinking like Edward Norton as the Hulk getting replaced by Mark Ruffalo. Mm-hmm. That one's a hard one to watch because in later Marvel movies, when Mark Ruffalo references the events of the first film, it's so you're like, oh, I forgot he's supposed to be the same character. Yeah. It's not done very well. Or like Rhodey in
Rhodey, I don't know Rhodey.
Yeah, you do.
Oh, okay.
In Iron Man 1, Terrence Howard.
Yeah. With
Terrence Howard got replaced by Don Cheadle.
Yeah,
and that I love Don Cheadle. I'm glad I'm glad Terrence got replaced. Yes. But it's still you go back and rewatch and you're like, this is a hard watch because it's a hard change. But yeah, it's always done poorly. So I think that's the way better way to do it because she is kind of an easy character to replace. I was a little worried how they would explain her absence. They did it in literally one sentence. Yeah. So
perfect.
Not that hard. And they can bring in somebody else, like you said, who's similar, but still different.
Yeah. Because going along with that, just real quick side note, that 70s show, that's what they did in the last season. The main guy, Eric Foreman, which is done by Trophy Grace. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I don't remember.
Topher
Grace. Damn, I'm going to kill myself.
Like Christopher, but just Topher.
That's so terrible. Anyways.
It means, can I tell you what it means real quick?
Yeah.
You want a little etymology on the name Topher?
Let's hear it.
Topher means bearer. So in the name Christopher, it means bearer of Christ, that you always take Christ with you. So Topher is just kind of a funny name because it takes, if you're like a Christian, it takes the Christ out of it and you're just a bearer, which is kind of funny. But anyway, go ahead.
I did not know that. Thank you. Yeah, and so what they did is they just wrote in a new guy who comes into town. But this way it was a little different. Not the same dude at all. Like, he's like a really cool, slick guy. And it didn't work very well because, it's not fulfilling the role that was left. But, so I think you have to have learning from that, you have to have enough similarities that it flows well. You know what I mean? Like, it can't just be a total contrast, black and white with the other character, because then it's just like, this is a total different person story, Anyways, that was just my little thought.
So in that instance, it was a recast of the same character, or they brought in a new
character.
Oh, okay.
But they made him because Eric was a really nerdy dude, and they brought in a cool, relaxed, chill guy to not recast, but bring in a new character.
Right.
Did poorly. They literally only did one more season after that. And they can't.
Just doesn't make sense sometimes.
Anyways, but I was just bringing that up. So there are ways they could do it bad. So you just hope they don't drop the ball when they do it. If they do it. Right.
Well, and that's the thing is, I think Rangers of the New Republic, the show that was supposed to be led by Cara Dune, I think that's either in development hell or it's been totally canceled. I don't know if we've gotten a confirmation, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I can't see it happening.
But it still would be a cool series if they just introduced us to new characters. I think. I wish it could work, but
I mean, I could see it. I could see it doing this. They bring in a new character, right? They do their whole thing, and then the Rangers of the Republic somehow come in, and they're like, "Hey, we need you to this new character towards the end of the season or series, whatever." And then it's like, "Oh, okay, these are the people." And then if they went back, they could go back in time because they've always been introduced. I don't know. There's always a bunch of things you could do. I don't think you necessarily need her, but I could see it being a focal point of why they wanted her.
Absolutely. Also in that same sentence where Grief Karga, or same conversation where they're talking about the past, they talk about how Moff Gideon is sent off to this war tribunal. So I wondered if that would be the end of him, if we'll ever see him again. Probably not, it sounds like, if he's going to be thrown in prison, but I'd like to see more of him. We've talked about this before. We love Moff Gideon,
Yeah. Yeah, I think I would absolutely love to see him come back. But yeah, if they're throwing him in the same sentence, it makes you wonder if they will. But as going along with everything I kind of saw, I really did like the Western scene when Vane, is that his name? With a V? I think he spelled it wrong.
Oh, the pirate?
Yeah, what's his name? I just spelled it wrong, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think it's Vane with a V.
Okay.
I had the subtitles on, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So I like when he came into town with his little group of misfits, and that little standoff. Loved it. I was like, that's really, really sick. And I like how the Mandalorian didn't do anything in the beginning, like the first part. You think he's going to be the one. Of course, towards the end, he knocks down a lot of them, but still super sick scene. I liked it a lot.
Right. Yeah, so cool. And it shows like how dedicated Grief Karga is to this new and improved society.
Yeah.
Because he was obviously working among bounty hunters before. Like, he was a pretty morally questionable figure, at least in the first season. And then in the second season, he became more I don't know how to say this. Like, more of a good guy, more of a clear good guy.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see in this season how much more he doubles down on that, which I think is great.
Yeah. But I also like how he's
I didn't.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I like how he's also getting like really like vain. Like, he's got a statue of himself. He's got robots carrying everything. This is what I noticed the first watch. I was like, man, this guy's becoming pretty prideful. But anyways, keep going.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and he's reminding everybody of his title and those. Yeah, like you said, those two robots following behind him carrying his cloak is really funny. I didn't love the pirate design, like all their leathers, and when they're in space and they finally track Mando down and they're like, "Avast!" I was like, "Oh my gosh, that is so cringe." But it's weird because, like, for me, I'm like, where do I draw the line of how much I want realism or pop culture to be involved in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because I love the episodes like
With Hondo.
what was that episode called last season? Yeah, I love Hondo Ohnaka. He's like my second favorite Star Wars character, probably. No, just kidding. He's my top 10 for sure, though.
Pretty high.
I love him. He is so funny, dude. I love him. But I love last season, the episode where Ahsoka fights, I think it's called The Magistrate, that episode, but now it sounds wrong. Anyway, how it's like on the inside of the walls, it's like a samurai movie, between Ahsoka and the magistrate lady.
Yeah.
Their duel.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the outside, it's like a Western with the Mandalorian and that guard guy.
Oh, yes.
I love when Star Wars pulls from, its roots.
Mm-hmm.
But I did not love the pirate scenes. I did love like the pirate captain.
He looked cool.
Main guy, because Star Wars always has to include like a big, gross, scary, practical effect looking alien.
Yeah.
And there he was. Looked cool. So
yeah. What I also liked about the pirates is that they were all different race or like alien species. Like I thought that was kind of cool too. They weren't all, because I thought they were all going to be like that's one thing I've loved about watching the Clone Wars and Rebels is you see all those types of characters throughout the galaxy and they're typically scum, which you don't really get watching just the main movies because you get a lot of side stories with them. So I did like that. But I don't know. I think I see what you're saying. That the Avast was it's kind of a little far fetched, but I think I liked how they let one live. I don't know. I just always love things like that. Like, they'll tell others, and I'm like, because in my mind, I'm always like, why? Just kill them.
Yeah, just kill them.
Why you gonna
like it'll still send a message if they all die.
They don't return.
Like they'll still know to stay away.
Yeah. So funny because it always bites him in the butt, like in the episode. Oh, there's Mando, which.
I know.
But I think the pirates are going to play not a huge role, but I think they'll be a reoccurring. I mean, since he got away and you can see he was pretty pissed. So,
right.
Anyways.
Dude, I would love to see Hondo Ohnaka in live action.
I know, he'd be sick.
Because he's still alive, right?
Yeah, he's still alive.
Because he was alive in Rebels. Like, he's
kicking it.
You can go see him in live action at Galaxy's Edge.
It's true.
He's there.
He's in the...
I'd love to see him. He's so cool.
Millennium Falcon ride, right? Or is he in the...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
What is it called?
It's the Millennium Falcon ride.
I don't even remember.
Smuggler's Run or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
But yeah, I'd love to see more of him. But, I mean, I always complain that they're not introducing new characters, too.
Yeah.
So I think it's cool that there's...
How about you pick a lane, dude?
Dude, yeah, you talked me into it. I hope they say Avast every episode. I hope that's the Mandalorian's new catchphrase.
That's his swear word. His dank Farragus.
Avast.
Oh, Avast.
Yeah, his new dank Farragus Avast. Yeah. I hope they do that. You're right.
That's good memes.
But that chase scene was so cool in space where he's like Mando's like hiding behind meteors and just like sneaking up and taking them out one by one.
Yes.
I thought that was so cool. Because I kind of complain about some of the special effects on these shows, these live action shows, but those space sequences look so good.
Yeah, they do. They look really.
And it was so cool.
Well, I also love it's a little trope, that exists in the Star Wars is asteroid. You got Han Solo when he's escaping the Empire. You have freaking Obi-Wan and Jango Fett. I just love that. Just keeping them alive as they go on. Little asteroids everywhere.
Right.
Cute.
It's like poetry. It rhymes.
That's right.
Cute. Anything else on the Mandalorian?
Yeah, I got a couple things. I laughed at I'm a fake fan as always. What's the robot's name? The original bounty, that guy that was going for Grogu.
IG-11.
I love when they reactivate him. He's calling like a zombie, dude. I was laughing like that's so funny.
So funny.
And then of course the funny thing is in Screen Crush they talked about how the joke that oh my gosh, I was gonna say Pedro, but what's this? Din Djarin. Jeez,
Din Djarin?
Yeah. is that's using your head. I immediately thought of this scene in Attack of the Clones where he's like, I can't even remember what C-3PO says, but I just remember him saying a cringy, corny line right when he gets his head to his body. Oh my gosh, I was like, that's Star Wars for you. That's pretty. Yeah, anyways, but apart from that, I did. You hit a lot of things I was talking about. That was the other thing I was going to say. I going back to what I said originally, when you watch these shows, they're great. Like you say, like they don't exclude anyone who hasn't seen everything. But like Bo-Katan, she is so cool because you see her so much in the Clone Wars. There's such a history behind her where she her character development of how she's going through everything. So it's interesting to see her here, because she's always got like a group behind her, but this time all alone in her giant castle, you just sitting there on her chair, real chill, when he walks in. So that's what I've really appreciated is watching the Clone Wars and everything because it really does give you a huge appreciation for the characters, especially in live action.
Right. It pays off, like you when he walks into that empty room, you understand like the history between him and her and everything she's done to get to that point and like how motivated she is to continue. So cool.
Yeah. I was going to ask, I have two questions for you if you still got some stuff, you can keep going. But that's basically into my list.
Dude, I've got one question, but I've got one last note. It's just that I liked the planet that she was on, Kalevala. It reminded me of Caladan from Dune.
Oh.
Did you see
yes.
the new one? Denis Villeneuve?
Yes.
His Dune. Very cool planet. Anyway.
I did like that too.
Sorry, go ahead with your questions.
Okay, my first question, I don't remember. I need to go back on he won the Darksaber, but then he got excommunicated, kicked off. He's an apostate. Does he still get to hold it? Because didn't he have that battle against the guy? Did he beat him? I don't even remember. So is he still in possession of the Darksaber?
Yeah.
I can't even remember.
Dude, and I was pretty sure he was.
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought.
Because doesn't he use it in the final episode of Book of Boba Fett?
I'm pretty sure yes, he does. He uses it.
Dude, we got to look that up.
I'm gonna double check, but
because that's what was. Yeah, double check. And while you're looking that up, that's what was so suspenseful about the season 2 finale. Is we got to that point where Grogu's getting picked up by Luke, Moff Gideon's been captured, and Bo-Katan is like, "Hey, you just won the Darksaber. Like, what the hell, And then we ended there. So my understanding that was Mando season 3, we were going to see this conflict between Bo-Katan and Din Djarin. But with that filler episode in Book of Boba Fett, it's kind of like, oh, well, he's been using the Darksaber now after that altercation. Like, how did they just leave peacefully? How did Bo-Katan just be like, dang it, well, he got the Darksaber, I'll just leave, So
I did think that's I always forget that there is like a bridged episode between both series that would be very confusing if you didn't watch. But yes, that's what I'm thinking of. When he is challenged, it's in the Book of Boba Fett. So yeah, he still has it. It's still in his possession.
Yes.
But in my mind, I was thinking that it was
cool.
in The Mandalorian, but I forget that episode isn't even in part of it. Which I'm sure later on in Disney Plus they'll probably add that little episode in between, or maybe throw it at the end of the season when you're watching them.
Yeah, because Boba Fett was not even in that episode at all. It definitely should have been a Mandalorian episode. So, they just wanted to release it right then.
Do you think they wanted to release it right then, or do you think they wanted, maybe they're hoping to get some more hype? I don't know. I can't see them going back though and making a whole episode. I feel like that would have been planned out from the beginning. But
I think it would have been planned out from the beginning. I think one of two things happened. That's a great point, because that's when I texted you and Jaron, and I was like, you guys need to watch Book of Boba Fett. Because at that point I had been hating it up until that episode, and I was like, this is must watch. Right. We need to know this going forward. But yeah, and also I think they wanted to keep working with Mark Hamill under the wraps, because it's always nicer when it's a surprise, Like that was such a cool surprise at the end of season 2 that Mark Hamill came on and did all that stuff for the deep fake. I think that maybe they were afraid that if they sat on that for another year, that he was going to be in another episode, it would get out and the hype would be gone. So I don't know, but
yeah, okay. I do. I think that, I mean, that's something that I feel like, especially with Disney and stuff, and when you're in that kind of a vibe, you want to keep that stuff under wraps because, you know. So that's, I mean, that's, yeah. Second question I had was, so you know how in the Clone Wars, when Darth Maul defeats, forget his name, when he wins the Darksaber.
Pre Vizsla?
In my mind, I always thought that you had to kill the person to get it, because I thought I could. That's why I thought Sabine did the same thing, but I'm realizing her mom killed him. So that's why I was really confused when Din has it, because I'm like, how did I thought, you know? It's anyways, but I'm realizing now. I guess I had written this question before I had the answer, but then I realized I had the answer, because I was just always thinking that if you want it, you killed them, but I guess that's not always the case. You don't have to kill them to beat them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So I mean, yeah.
But that being said, like it was in the Mandalorians' nature. They were like a war tribe people, so of course you're going to kill the dude you just defeated. Yeah. Like it was just natural.
Yeah, so that's fair.
So
well. I think, I mean, we got a couple minutes left. I think instead of spinning the wheel, might as well being on track with the Mandalorian coming out. You want to talk a little bit about Star Wars Mandalorian history a little bit, maybe?
Yeah, dude, let's do it.
Well, is that what you want to do? It doesn't even seem like you want to do it.
No, dude, let's go ahead and do that, man, if you want. No, just kidding. Yeah, let's talk about that. That'll be great. And I do have a question that I kind of want to talk about, but it can fit right into this.
Shoot it. Go for it.
So, my question is, why is Din still following the cult of the Children of the Watch?
Yeah.
Because, like, Bo-Katan kind of enlightened him that, like, oh, you guys are an offshoot. You guys are kind of crazy. But it seems like his entire motivation this season is going to be redemption for taking his helmet off. When at a certain point in season 2, it seemed like he was done with that Children of the Watch thing.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering why he's still so committed to it. Why he's kind of like doubled back.
I got two theories. One.
Okay, let's hear them.
One is, I feel like in order to lead all of Mandalore, he may feel like he needs to belong to a certain sect, you know, the Children of the Watch. So, I mean, that might be because he has it, but he feels like maybe he doesn't have the authority. Like, he has the authority, but he doesn't have the backing of a clan. If he just, you know, went out, maybe he looks like a disgrace, you know, because, like, going back to Sabine, she, you know, when she kind of turned and went to the Empire and, like, you know, made the armor that killed a bunch of Mandalorians, they were disgraced, you know, kind of a thing. And I think that also just says a lot about Mandalorians in general, which goes to my second theory, was maybe it's just something so important to them. Like they want that, they need that, their whole lives were that, you know what I mean? Like, you kind of look at it, you know, being a part of a church, you know, you've heard of it. I don't know. I feel like there's always going to be that, like, connection that you're like, you know, you're still drawn to it. You don't want to just walk out on it. So I don't know. And especially going back to what he had, I mean, he was nothing. He was an orphan little boy. So I feel like you know, that's all he has, and he doesn't want to disrespect them. Maybe he's got a deep, you know, caring for family. So
yeah, that's a great point. Like you said, that caring for family, that kind of sense of duty, and also because he has kind of accepted his role as a father figure for Grogu, maybe he wants some more stability in that, you know, family community. You make a great point.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guarantee you that's going to be answered here. Because I mean, looking back, you and me, I think we both could see if we were in that position where saying, okay, well, whatever amount, I don't need this. You know what I mean? Like, I can go my own way. I've been fending for myself for years at this point, you know? So I don't know, but I think that will be an interesting thing to come up, and I want to see, because I'm sure there's going to be a part right before he gets into the waters that he's going to, you know, say, this is the reason, this is the way, and this is the reason why I live the way.
This is the way. Exactly. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. For those of you listening, Spencer's an Eastern Orthodox Christian, and I'm a Roman Catholic, and so we understand kind of going back to your roots when you've grown up in them. But yeah, we can We can talk about the history of Mandalore if you'd
Well,
like. Why are you
I'm
laughing?
not. It was a soundbite. One thing. So this is why I'm actually really glad. If you are listening to this and you want to get a really in depth thing, watch Screen Crush's History of Mandalore. 1,000 Years of Mandalore in what 15 minutes? I can't even remember. 13
in 13 minutes. Yeah,
in depth, deep. But the reason why that's what I was looking for, something like that, because it is such an interesting history in Star Wars. Like you just never, talk about or hear about it. And they're very, I keep saying culty, which isn't a bad thing. It's not bad to be a cult, but like, they're very stuck in their ways. And like, I love the fact that there's just so many different, sects of them that exist. I just think it's very fascinating. But with that being said, what are your thoughts about Mandalorian before we jump in the Mandalorians?
Yeah, I think what you said about them being kind of culty, and really it's just a culture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Those have the same origin, but yeah, it's their culture, which is so interesting because and the coolest thing is Boba Fett started out as like a modified stormtrooper design. He was released, they changed him into a bounty hunter. Everybody loved the design. All this stuff went on for years and years and years, talking about like how mysterious and cool he was. These backstories were written. And finally we have something like this where we're sitting here talking about the past 1,000 years of Mandalorian history. It's just so cool. But yeah, to get started, just really briefly, humans found this planet. Okay. These mythosaurs were there. They learned to tame them and ride them, And we see that in the Star Wars Holiday Special, Boba Fett, when he's first introduced, is riding a mythosaur. So pretty cool. And the skull that Boba Fett wears that's painted on him is a mythosaur skull. And we saw one in this most recent episode. So the mythosaurs are really important to the Mandalorians. They found Beskar ore on this planet of Mandalore, right? And they turned it into armor that was resistant to blasters and lightsabers. And that put them at natural odds with the Jedi. And so there were all these wars between the Mandalorians and the Jedi. And the Mandalorians, by nature of always being at war, created this culture of war making and warmongering. Then there was this brief peace, right, between the Jedi and the Mandalorians when, you know his name?
Oh, you said
Tar Vizsla. He became a Jedi. He was force sensitive. He became a Jedi, and he crafted the Darksaber, left the Jedi Order, and went and united all the tribes of Mandalore, and became the Mandalore, which means something in their language,
it meant
right?
like he was the head honcho.
Yeah, like the head honcho. Then the Old Republic fell. The Mandalorians went and sacked the Jedi Temple, stole the Darksaber back after Tar Vizsla's death, right? And then it stayed in the Vizsla line up until the Clone Wars. Fill me in if I'm missing anything. But basically, it was just years and years of warfare, years and years of fighting with the Jedi, being at peace with the Jedi, fighting with the Jedi again. And then up until right before the time of the Clone Wars, they were still a warmongering people until Satine, Duchess Satine, came into power. And she made everything pretty peaceful. By this time, the planet's been destroyed by all the warfare, and they live in these kind of bubbles. And that's where their cities are, that's where they're safe, and that's what's habitable. And the people who still want to make war and don't want to be pacifists are banished to this moon of Mandalore, and that's Death Watch, which is led by Pre Vizsla, who was a descendant of Tar Vizsla. And he still wants to make war. Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon come and live on Mandalore for some mission. I can't remember what it is, but that's where Obi-Wan falls in love with Satine. Fun fact, Spencer and I were talking about a few weeks ago, and I don't know if this is true. I was kind of just spewing this that night, but maybe. I think Satine is named after Satine from Moulin Rouge, where Ewan McGregor is the lead and his love is Satine. I'm pretty sure that's true. Somebody will have to fact check.
I mean, it feels like it's too perfect to not be.
Right. So Obi-Wan falls in love with Satine. He comes back years later with Anakin, and on another mission has to Wait, did he come back with Anakin that first time, or did he come back
Clone
alone?
Wars?
I feel like when he's investigating the moon, yeah.
I
think he investigates the moon alone because I remember him being like cornered.
I don't remember.
Anyway, he comes back. He confronts Death Watch. Death Watch goes through this really cool arc of like sometimes being good, but they're really like a terrorist organization. They overthrow Satine and they get in league with Darth Maul for whatever reason. He wants to rule Mandalore because he knows how powerful they can be, and he wants to use them as an army. Then Maul creates I misquoted it so many times.
Is
that
it
one
the
episode.
Black Sun or is it
the Crime Syndicate?
It's not the Black Sun. We thought it was the Black. What is it actually?
It's Shadow something. Crimson Dawn. Yeah. Crimson Dawn. Crimson Dawn sounds right. Anyway, so he started that with the help of the Mandalorians. Then we get the best Clone Wars arc ever, Siege of Mandalore, when Bo-Katan recruits Ahsoka to go and take back Mandalore from
Darthy Boy
Maul, who at this point has killed Pre Vizsla and taken the Darksaber for himself. Yada, yada, yada. Bo-Katan wins, right? Leaves Mandalore, and then for some reason she loses power again by the time of Rebels. And I haven't watched Rebels for like 2 years now, so I can't remember very well what happens. Sabine Wren creates some mechanism that destroys Beskar armor. It almost gets in the Empire's hands. She has to destroy it. But now, by this time, people who were following Darth Maul have survived, and even though Darth Maul's dead at this point, but no, he's not dead at that point. I can't remember the timeline. Anyway, he's off Mandalore.
Yeah.
But these guys are still his followers that have taken control of Mandalore, right? Sabine comes back with the Darksaber, wins the Darksaber from... He's not a Vizsla. What's his name?
I don't remember his name.
At this point,
he's just a dude.
Viewer, listener, you can look it up. He's a guy. He's got some relation to the past. I think he was the son of Maul's right-hand man during the Siege of Mandalore. I think that was the relation. Or he is that guy. Yeah. I think he is that guy.
But he wasn't like,
given the year difference. Yeah. Anyway. Sabine Wren supposedly unites the clans. Or no, she gives it to Bo-Katan, which was another weird thing. She won the Darksaber. Sabine did. She gave it to Bo-Katan, and Bo-Katan supposedly led the Mandalorians. But then for reasons that I can't remember if they were very well explained, by this point, there's still a lot of Mandalorians out there, but they're not united under the Darksaber anymore. Because Moff Gideon had it, and now Din has it.
Yeah.
So that's
which is insane. Like you mentioned from the beginning, like all that exists because of just the creation of Boba Fett in years and years ago, But one thing I do want to see, and I think, like we've mentioned before, this is the beauty of Tales of the Jedi. Easily they could, throw in the story of when Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan go visit Mandalore, and as well,
that would be so
you get to see all that. I would love it. And the other one that they could do, and I would love to see, is this, the beef. I always forget that the Jedi and the Mandalorians had, which would be so cool, because I just think that is just the power of having that series, because it doesn't have to follow anything. It can just jump and hit stories that are cool and important, and they can do small arcs, like for example with Count Dooku and Qui-Gon, like that 3 episode, was it 3 or was it, I can't even remember, or maybe it was all 1. Okay, it was 3. Okay, 3 that a short little story, but it gave so much power to the rest of Star Wars. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah, it enriched it so much. It was amazing.
Yeah,
I would love love a Tales of the Jedi arc about Tar Vizsla.
Yeah.
That would be so cool. Like you could show him just becoming a Jedi, show him leaving the Jedi Order, and then show him uniting the tribes of Mandalore.
So sick.
That'd be so cool.
Which, another thing, I know we just kind of talked about religious stuff, but that I've never even put two to two together about the tribes of Israel and in Mandalore, how it's kind of the same thing. I was like, I just didn't think that's just what Star Wars does, is it pulls from so many things. It's like even biblical stuff can be in there, which is like really cool.
Right.
I just, like, didn't even cross my mind because it's done in such a unique way that unless someone pointed out to you, you probably just don't even think about it. So I thought that was kind of cool too.
Yeah, absolutely. So are you saying Din Djarin is Jesus, who's going to unite the tribes of Israel?
I would call
tribes?
it more of a Moses. You know, he's not going to. He's gonna,
more of a Moses,
he's
Ephraim.
He's going to lead them to that point, but he's not going to be the guy. Someone else is going to step in.
Right.
He's not that guy.
Right.
Real quick, just a little side note. I just saw this. I forgot I had this. We asked you last episode about what our parents' Star Wars picks would be. I asked my dad.
Let's hear it.
His bottom three, he was interchangeable on. He didn't really care, so I'll just read them from the bottom up. The Last Jedi, Solo, Rise of Skywalker. He didn't really care. But here's the rest. This is the ones he put thought into. Number 8, The Phantom Menace. Number 7, Attack of the Clones. Number 6, Force Awakens. Number 5, Revenge of the Sith. 4, Return of the Jedi. 3, Empire Strikes Back. This would blow my mind. 2, Rogue One. 1, A New Hope. So
wow. Wow.
I did. When he was saying, I was like, this is really, because he's a nerd. He like loves, and that's what I thought. I figured a lot of people who are older are going to put A New Hope number 1 because they, that was for first one.
Just because, yeah.
He was such a nerd that he would have a record player of the audio. It wasn't even the movie. It was just the audio of the movie. And he would just listen to it at night. So when he watches it, when I'm with him, I want to kill him because he quotes word for word the first half of the movie. He knows exactly where he's at.
What a nerd.
He's like, you're going to put me on the podcast?
That's amazing, though. That's so cool.
I said, no, Bill.
Yeah, bring Bill on. Who cares? Let's
I did
hear him.
find 2 interesting. Rogue One, I was like, wow, that's crazy. And then it made sense, his putting The Force Awakens higher than a lot of the prequels because it gave, I think it gave him the same vibe of A New Hope. That's probably why. But yeah, I was surprised at a couple of those, but yeah, really, really cool. I was like, yeah. So if your dad's a big Star Wars guy, have him do it.
Did he? He's not, but I'll force him to watch the movies and then we'll talk about it. I'm curious to know, did Bill hate the prequels when they came out? Like we hate the sequels? We don't hate, but I mean,
he wasn't like he just felt disappointed, like, which makes sense. I mean, like he with like when the midichlorians came out, he was like, what the hell? Like what is this? What is this thing?
Yeah.
Everybody was. Doesn't make any sense. Like it really turned him off. And I mean, it makes sense. Like, you have this huge gap of Star Wars and then episode 1 comes out. It is a lot of, it's like a lot of bureaucracy stuff going on. Not like a little bit of action. So I get it. I see where they're coming from. But hey, they had to walk so that the rest of these things could run.
Revenge of the Sith could run. Right. Exactly. And we're so grateful they did. Okay, man.
No, that was
anything
it,
else?
It was a good epi.
Yeah, I think that was great. I'm excited to talk about Mandalorian in the future.
Yeah, man. So I think it's gonna be awesome. I'm excited for this season. No, it's gonna be good. I'll plug in right now. Hey, listeners. We are starting another podcast. If you love films, movies, all things cinema, look no further. Come with us on another journey apart from this galaxy. It is a galaxy far, far away. It is called Film Fixation.
Film Fixation.
It's your host here. It's me and Austin and our buddy Jaron. We're going to bring him on next week so he can defend some of his picks that we talked about last week of his Star Wars movies. And then we'll introduce more of what that new podcast will be about. So if you love movies, come along with us. It'll be a good joyride. Thanks for
Okay.
being the disciple of the Force.
Thanks for being a disciple of the Force. Okay, that's good. That's got to work. I'm not doing it again. There's no way.
Dude, I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to the end the whole thing. I would